Module 3 of organizational behavior is focusing on group dynamics and behavior. That is, in an organization, we can never ignore the importance of groups. Groups, teams, and all are used interchangeably as well. So in this module, we are going to discuss about the concept of groups, types of groups, formal versus informal groups, stages of group development, group decision making, advantages, disadvantages, group behavior. Then there is another topic known as that is power, then organizational politics, types, etc. Then comes conflict, negotiations, etc. So here you can see, first of all, we will see the meaning of groups. In every organization, you can see that people are divided into groups. It can be called under different names, but it could be called as departments, units, committees, divisions, and so on. And the people in the group are interacting with each other to achieve some common goal. That is one very important thing to be noted. The members in the group will always have a common goal. Now here you can see one definition. Two or more independent individuals who interact and influence each other in collective pursuit of a common goal. Or we can see any number of persons who interact with each other in such a manner that the behavior of one is influenced by the behavior of other persons. As I told you, in most of the organizations, we can see that groups are there. And groups are actually more than one person, more than an individual, more than one employee who are interacting with each other, and they are pursuing or they are joining together to pursue a common goal. So here you can see the main features of a group. It should be consisting of two or more independent individuals, and the members of the group, they would be interacting and influencing each other in the collective pursuit of a common goal. The members of a group may share common values and norms. That's very important. Then only they will be part of the common group. And the behavior of one member is influenced by the behavior of other members of the group. Size of the group can be large or small. Groups can be formal or informal. So that we have to see when we discuss about types of groups, we will be discussing about formal groups and informal groups. So groups can be of any size, large or small, but at least there should be two members, two or more independent individuals. Then only it will be forming a group. Now here you can see, as I told you, we are going to discuss about types of groups. There can be various types of groups in an organization, like there are small and large groups, primary and secondary groups, formal and informal groups. And here, more importantly, we will be discussing about formal and informal groups in detail as well. So first, we will see types of groups. In general, the groups are commonly classified into small and large groups. Small group means definitely the number of members will be few. They are closely knitted, closely connected with each other. And like we can say, such as here as example given over here, members of a football team. At the same time, a large group consists of so many members, maybe even 100 plus, or even more than that, such as World Trade Organization, which consists of 164 member nations. It is difficult to have close interpersonal relationships in a large group because the number of people, the number of members are more. Whereas in a small group, it is actually a closely knitted one where it is easy to interact with one another. Then comes primary and secondary group. Like primary group consists of few members who share common values, beliefs, interests, common goals, etc. Like we can say family is an example of a primary group. A secondary group is comparatively a large group consisting of several primary groups. Its members may not have close interpersonal relationship, but they may not even have a common purpose many times. A neighborhood is an example of secondary group which consists of several families. Like another example which I would like to share with you is, take the example of the college. College can be considered as a secondary group because there are different classes over here. And since you are part of MCOM, that is primary group. So where the number of people are less, you share common values, beliefs, interests, etc. Whereas the college as a whole belongs to secondary group, which consists of several primary groups in that. Then comes formal and informal group. Formal groups are based on organizational relationships, like when it is formed officially to an extent, we can say it is formal group. They are formed for the purpose of achieving certain tasks which are given by the organization. But informal groups are not something which is created or which is made by the organizations, but it is happening spontaneously. Spontaneously means suddenly, we can say, through interactions among the people who are in frequent contact with each other, and they share some common values as well. But they don't have any specific tasks to be performed. They may or may have, or they may not even have some common goals to achieve. But formal groups are officially formed by the organization. It is done on the basis of organizational relationship to achieve some common task which are set or which are laid down by the organization. Here also we can see there are sub-classifications over here. Formal groups are divided into two types, command and task. Command groups consist of a superior and there will be subordinates who directly report to the superior. It is a relatively permanent work group. Same way, we can see task group. Task group is formed when the members come together to undertake any certain or any specific work. Like it could be committees, project team, or anything. So command group will be consisting of a superior and the subordinates who will be reporting to the superior. It is a permanent type of work group, like normally which we see in the organizations. But task group is undertaken for completing certain specific tasks, like committees, task force, any project, etc. And once this task is completed, we can see that the group can be disbanded. Group can be winded up over there in task group. Same way, informal groups can be of two types: friendship groups and interest groups. Groups often develop because the individual members have one or more common characteristics, like maybe they might be coming from the same area. In an organization, the employees, they might be coming from the same locality, or they might have been studied together, or they might have been worked together elsewhere. So it is something which then they know how to take the relationship ahead. Like it's outside the formal relationship, something outside the work situation. It can be like of similar age, gender, same religion, maybe same political affiliation, whatever it is, same hobbies, whatever it is. This is informal. At the same time, interest group is also there, which is again informal, when they are accomplishing certain common interest. Like when a group of employees who are focusing on fitness, they are asking for a yoga class in an organization. Or when a group of employees coming from the same area, they are asking for a bus service to that particular place. Like that, all this comes from interest groups when they have something common among themselves. So this is very important to remember. Groups can be divided into formal and informal. Under formal and informal, again, there are subgroups. Next is temporary and permanent groups. Some groups are relatively temporary in nature, means it is not long lasting. It is created in order to accomplish a certain task. It could be a short-term task, and then after the task is achieved or accomplished, such groups are dissolved. For instance, they might be forming a committee to look into certain matters or anything which is formed only for a smaller period. But at the same time, permanent groups have a longer life. This type of group is formed when people, they perform tasks together as part of their job assignments. And this is more enduring in nature. Enduring means this is more long lasting in nature, like part of a particular task, and they may form a group which is for a long assignment, anything like that. So these are the different classifications of groups based on size. We can say small and large, then primary and secondary, then formal and informal. And again, remember, formal and informal is again subdivided into subcategories. And then there is temporary and permanent groups. Now, next we can see the difference between formal and informal groups. Formal groups versus informal groups. As we have already discussed, formal groups are created by the organization in order to accomplish some specific goals. There will be proper structure, well-defined authority, responsibility, well-defined and specific goals. There will be superiors who are giving instructions to the subordinates, and even responsibility is delegated. There's proper coordination, there is a superior subordinate relationship, There are certain rules and regulations to be followed by the members. It is stable, and the members even get benefits being part of this group. There is formal communication, there is strong leadership over here, and there could even be status issues in such groups, and it may be of any size, and it is formed officially. At the same time, informal groups are not formed officially. This is just to maintain social relationship in the workplace. And there is nothing like who will be the superior, who will be the subordinate, nothing like that. There is no official authority over here. There is no responsibility as well. There is no need for coordination. This is completely informal. There are no superior subordinate relationship. There are no rules and regulations to be followed by the members. However, they do maintain some kind of conformations to the group norms. There is no stability. It can come to an end any time. It is mainly formed, as I told you earlier, spontaneously, or it is just for maintaining good relationship in the organization. There is informal communication over here through the grapevine. Grapevine means there is no formal communication. Formal communication kaise hote hain? Upwards, downwards, sideways. But I think all of you know what is the meaning of a grapevine. It goes into many directions. So informal communication, any message can come from anywhere. A news will be passing through several people. One like gossiping to an extent. The message will be passing through so many people and will be reaching you. So there is informal communication through the grapevine. And in informal leaders, there is no leadership. Like sometimes there will be someone who is emerging as a leader. Some members might accept them like that. There are no status differentials over here. It is normally of smaller size because to limit the personal relationship. And these are formed, very important to remember, these are unofficial in nature. Next topic which we have to discuss is very important, stages of group development. Every team or every group is passing through series of development stages, and here we will learn about 5 different stages of formation of a group. That is 5 different points you can see over here: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. So सबसे पहले आते हैं forming. This is the stage when the members, they have just formed the group. They are coming together to know each other for the first time. They hardly know about each other. They are just sharing their personal information so that they can get to know about each other gradually. Their interactions are marked by both courtesy and caution. They have just begun to see and they have just begun to know each other. Second stage is storming. Now they have already come to know, they have already came to know like who are the other members. They have started understanding what is their little bit of what are they supposed to do in this group. There are chances now the members will be competing with each other to gain more control, status and all in the group. There may be differences of opinion among the members. There may even be external pressures on the group. And there are tension in this stage between individuals, with each member trying to push himself or herself to gain a better position over here. So सबसे पहले आते हैं forming, then storming. Then comes norming. In this stage, there is high level of competition seen, and that is in the first, cooperation seen, because in the first stage, so second stage they have, it is like full highly tension stage. Third stage, they are now going more cooperatively to achieve the goal, because there like the differences of opinion have been sorted out. They begin to cooperate with each other, develop norms for the group, and these norms are meant to guide the behavior of everyone in the group. Then comes performing. As the name suggests, here they start working. The group has now formed, it has set now, it has matured now. Now they start handling complex tasks, challenging tasks. All the members are now well aware about their roles, what are they supposed to do, how they're supposed to perform them. They may even exchange functions if required. Like some men in a group, all may not be comfortable in same type of job. So there are even chances that the duties and roles can be exchanged so that it can be done in a better way. So here, performance stage, as the name suggests, they have now started performing the activity which has been allotted to them. Then comes adjourning. At one point of time, the groups must adjourn, or the groups must wind up. Groups must be completed its actions and it must be disbanded. It may not be easy every time because dissolving means group means it may even become tension, may arise over there. It may affect the social relationship, personal relationship and all. So, but it still, once the work is over, most of the groups are adjourned or it is breaking up of the group or dismantling the group. But these are just 5 different stages. Some groups may go through all these stages, some groups may not go, some might even get stuck at a certain stage and again they will have to think about the members, again they will have to revise the members, again they have to start from the beginning. But these are the common stages in the group formation: forming, storming, norming, performing and adjourning. Next is group decision making. I already told initially, in most of the organizations there are groups. Groups help in better decision making, and as compared to an individual taking a decision and as compared to a group of people taking the decisions, it will be much more effective when the group is giving the opinion, because there will be more members and we can get different opinions. We can find out the best one from that. So when 2 or more managers make a decision, it is called group decision making. It happens in the organization. Most of the time at the top level, board of directors take the decisions. Middle level and lower level, many times there will be several committees to take the decisions. And the most important aspect to remember is that, as I told you, in group decision making, the members contribute their ideas. They pool their expertise and then they come at a decision which is very much helpful to solve the problems in an organization. Like we can say some examples are given here, like when they want to modernize the plant, when they want to restructure the organization, then when they want to develop or launch a new product, when they want to start a new factory or a plant. Some of the decisions will be taken by the top management, some will be even can be given to the middle level management. But group decision making is overall effective, wherein we will get so many suggestions. And from these, we can select the best option. Now, what are the advantages of group decision making? Groups play a very important role. They can take better decisions. And what are the other advantages? First one is integrated group decision. Integrated means something which is taken together. A group can have greater knowledge and information as compared to a single individual, because there will be more than two members or more than 2 members. So the angles, the viewpoints, the perception and all can be discussed, and there is actually brainstorming type of session. We get several viewpoints which will help in taking a balanced decision. Even it encourages new ideas. Group members, as I told you, will be thinking from various angles, various viewpoints, and after several discussions, there is even possibility of getting new innovative ideas, creative ideas. It facilitates cooperation among the members because they will be representing various departments and units. And when there is cooperation among various departments, it will actually help in improving the productivity of the firm. Same way, there is commitment. Group decision is actually like providing a solution in a better way, and this also involves commitment, wherein the decision will be acceptable to the members. In motivation, when they are part of a committee, the people get motivated to be part of the decision-making process, which will definitely improve their morale, because they are also getting a chance to discuss their opinion or provide their suggestions. Another important thing is sharing of responsibilities. Nobody actually wants to be held responsible for something which has happened, some mistakes or anything. And when a group or a committee is taking the decisions, and when they are taking the responsibility, they can share the responsibility. Because when an individual is taking a decision, we know that he is responsible for that decision. Whereas in a group of 10 members, all these 10 members will be equally responsible for that decision. That is why there is sharing of responsibility over here. Then minimization of costly errors. Sometimes we may even go wrong in decision making. And such costly and wrong Decisions can be avoided when there is group consensus. Group takes decisions because they may take time to come to a proper decision, and there can even be less errors when it is group decision making because they will be considering several viewpoints. And it also will help to maintain good relationship, cordial relationship between the management and the employees, higher productivity in the organization. As I told you, members have a feeling that all of them are being heard. The viewpoints of everybody is discussed in group decision making. This will definitely help in achieving higher productivity. It improves the quality of decision and also commitment on the part of the group members. These are the advantages. At the same time, there are certain problems when it comes to group decision making. One is group decision making may lead to delay in decision taking. Delay because there are several members, they will be all giving their own viewpoints, their own perceptions, and as you compare to that of an individual and a group, individual means only that individual's viewpoint is to be considered. But in group may, you have to take into account the opinion of all the group members. So it will involve considerable time. So considerable time is consumed in arriving at the final decision. Sometimes ऐसे भी हो सकता है कि group members कुछ डिसीजन स्टार्ट करते हैं और वो अननेसेसरी इररिलेवेंट मैटर्स के ऊपर भी डिस्कशन चालू करते हैं. It may result in delay in the proper decisions. Then undue dominance. Sometimes if there is a strong personality, he or she may try to dominate. They might be the group leader. They may dominate and they may not give the option to all the members to give their opinion. So the youngsters, especially the newbies and all, newbies means that newly joined employees and all hardly get a chance to express their views. So this may affect the views of the members and even the quality of the decision gets affected. Expensive. Group decisions are actually costly. It is time consuming, effort consuming, and even money. Because it may take lots of days, weeks, and even months for coming to the final decision. Then comes compromise decisions. Quite often the decisions will be taken are all, it could be compromised, like especially the junior members and the new members and all are forced to accept the decisions by the leader or the senior members. Even though they feel that this decision may not be right, or even though they may feel that they don't want to support these decisions, still they may be forced to accept that decisions. That is, they will have to compromise. Weakness of group members. Sometimes if the members are not at all experienced, that may affect the group decision making. Sometimes they simply argue again with each other. Sometimes they immediately jump into conclusions. Sometimes they enter into unwanted controversies and all. Sometimes there will be a group of people who simply are part of the group but hardly open the mouth. So all these things will affect the group. Then problem of responsibility. Who will be responsible for the final decision? As I told you, if it is an individual, we can tell that that person is responsible for this decision. If it is, be it good decision or bad decision, whatever it is. Group में but किसको assign करके देंगे responsibility? क्योंकि ये साथ में लेते हैं. तो nobody will be ready to accept the responsibility over here. Lack of secrecy, because there will be many members, they may even leak out important decisions outside. So there is no confidentiality in group decision making. There are chances that they may share the information outside, especially important decisions outside. And same way, there are problems of large groups. Like there are cases when the group members are large. It may be difficult to accommodate everyone and make everyone happy. And especially if the group is very large, this will again delay the decision making process. It can even be quite expensive as well. So we can say that group decision making are having both advantages and disadvantages. This is about problems of group decision making.